Hey there. So it's Oscar season, and as I do every year, because Oscar is my Super Bowl, as I do every year, I try to see as many of the major nominees as I can. And so far, I have two more to go that I really want to see. I haven't seen Boyhood, and I haven't seen Still Alice. But the other night, Tuesday night, I did get to see Foxcatcher, and it was okay, to be honest. It's, if you haven't heard the story, basically it's the true story. A lot of the nominees this year are true story. It's the true story of what happened when two brothers who were Olympic gold medalists were given an opportunity by an eccentric billionaire to work in his training camp, in his wrestling training camp that he had opened on his estate. And it's all, basically the movie's a power struggle. How the billionaire is able to kind of seduce one brother but not the other, and it turns tragic. And the brothers are Mark and Dave Schultz, who, like I say, won gold medals in the 1984 Olympics in wrestling. And they're complete opposites. Mark is introverted, he lives by himself, he's kind of quiet. Dave is extroverted, he's got a family, he's a little more open, extroverted. So Mark is called in by John DuPont, played by Steve Carell, to work in the training camp. And DuPont wants to coach the Olympic wrestling team despite having no experience. So, and he also wants him to convince his brother to come in too, but his brother doesn't, is reluctant at first, but eventually he gives in. And it's really, as I say, it's about a power struggle. DuPont is a weird guy. Now, I'm just going according to the movie, because I've only heard fragments of the story over the years. DuPont is a weird guy in this movie. He's played by Steve Carell, and, he's very quiet, kind of mousy, but has an overinflated sense of entitlement. He is part of the DuPont family, the DuPont chemicals, and they seem to have all the money in the world. But he seems to know how to manipulate Mark Schultz. Dave, he has to work at it a little bit. But this is the story of what happened. It turned tragic when DuPont didn't get what he wanted. And it's a very interesting, but very, very strange movie. I was interested in it because it was directed by Bennett Miller. Now, Bennett Miller made Moneyball a couple of years ago, and he also made Capote. And he has a good eye for making, he has a talent for making movies about men in a particular profession and the struggles they go through, both personally and professionally. And here, and I like those other two films. This one I don't think succeeds as well. This one, I don't know. It's creepy and it's weird and it's just kind of, it's just strange. I didn't. There are long stretches of this movie where nothing's being said, where it's long shots, long takes of just someone staring out into space. And I guess he wants you to focus on what is not being said, which is fine to a point. But after a while you get frustrated. I did. And the movie's very quiet. There's not much of a music score. And the struggle between these guys mostly doesn't take place in a lot of dialogue. We get it, but it's just very strange. To be honest, and this is just me, I found the movie very boring. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and a lot of the performances, a lot of the scenes are very empty. The drama in the film I felt was very dry, so I didn't really care for it. It's a joyless film. Of course, based on subject matter, it would be. But it's a joyless film. It's not entertaining by any stretch. But the performances are really the only thing I can really credit with this. The performances are really, really great. The brothers are played, Mark is played by Channing Tatum. And then Dave is played by Mark Ruffalo, who just got an Oscar nomination. Of the two, I think Mark Ruffalo gives the better performance simply because he has more to do, and he seems to have more of a character. Mark is portrayed in this film as kind of not real intelligent, a stereotypical jock, and it's really kind of, I don't know, it's really kind of strange, but it's not a, the performance in this movie, the high point, the one thing that I really love about this movie is Steve Carell. Steve Carell plays John DuPont under heavy makeup, and he does so by not saying a whole lot. Now I know I just knocked the film for not having a lot of dialogue, but Steve Carell is known as being an actor who's very gregarious, very open. Here he's not. He's very interior. There are a lot of scenes where he doesn't say anything, and that sets off a very creepy tone. I think this is probably the creepiest performance of the year. You're not sure what exactly he's going to do, and half the time you're not sure what he's actually thinking, and it's a very low-key kind of performance that, to be honest, I thought it was very good. I really did. He's the best thing about the movie. But other than that, I think the movie is very slow, kind of dull, kind of boring. I got bored very early on, and I'm the guy who really liked Under the Skin this year. It's just, I just didn't care for it. So that's really all I have to say about it. But the trailers I got were really interesting. One trailer I got was Still Alice, which is an Oscar nominee. Like I said, I'm still haven't seen yet, and I want to see it. But when I heard the synopsis, I wasn't so sure. It's Julianne Moore plays a woman who is in her 50s and is suffering the early stages of Alzheimer's disease. I don't know. It's got Julianne Moore, one of my favorite actors, so I'll probably see it, but that subject matter just sounded like Oscar, give us an Oscar. The second was an adaptation of Far from the Madding Crowd, which is based on a Thomas Hardy book that I read in high school. And it's all about, it's one of those class and privilege, 19th century, she's defying her social class, so men want her and all of this kind of stuff, and it just seemed a little dry to me, but it's got Carey Mulligan in it, who I really, really like. Then the third one was Furious 7, which, to be honest, Furious 7, I have a feeling that until this thing comes out in April, this is going to be on every movie that I go to see. So, I don't know. Like I've said before that I'm going to go see, I'm probably thinking about actually sitting down and watching the series because I've never seen one of these movies. The third one was a movie called, there were 5 of these. The third one was a movie called McFarland USA, which is about a coach trying to teach a small town track team. And I thought, well, that sounds boring, especially since it comes from Disney, and that sounds overdone. But then I found out it comes from Nikki Caro, who also directed 2 movies that I like. She directed North Country a couple of years ago, and she directed Whale Rider. So there's a draw for me. But that's one of those I'm going to wait for the reviews. The last one, really, I'm really looking forward to. It's a documentary called Red Army. And it's about the history of the Soviets Olympic hockey team during the Cold War. And that looked really, really interesting, and it's getting some good reviews. So I'll probably see that one. But skip Foxcatcher. If you really want to see Steve Carell's performance, which is the only thing I recommend about this movie, if you really want to see Steve Carell's performance, rent the movie in a couple of months when it comes out on DVD, but don't spend the money to go see this in the theater. It's slow, boring, it's dry. I didn't enjoy it, and I usually like movies that are deliberately paced. I'm the guy who usually loves these things. But this one I didn't care for. So I don't know what I'm going to see next week. There's a movie called Cake that came out that got some decent reviews, and I may see that. But like I say, skip Foxcatcher. And that's all I have to say about it. So I'll see you next time. Bye.